Hi everyone, today we got another one of those gap up and rally style days, and then we gave it all back right at the open. You can see 10 o'clock candle was the start of pretty much selling across the board. We did find some wicks of support in this zone at the trend line for the NASDAQ. But let's take a look at all of the charts and see if we can find some direction for tomorrow. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. In news today, there was a little bit of concerns over regional banks. We got Jefferies shares tanking on concerns about sour loans, and this has been moving into the regional banking ETF, which is down quite a bit on the back of this news. We've had fears around regionals before, and it seems like that is back a little bit more. You can see Zion's down 13%, Western Alliance down 10%, S&P regionals down 6%. So something to watch for here with regionals. Been terrible. And you can see this previous dip that we had here before. You can see this is the fall that we had into April, and that kind of April low time period, down around $40, down around 30%. And you can see we're not that far off of that here recently. So we've had bankruptcies in the banking industry, in the regional banking sector. There's definitely concerns that that could be another resurgence. And Jeffrey said some of its hedge funds that it runs, about $715 million from their companies tied to First Bank, UBS, while UBS said that it has about $500 million in exposure. So there's some companies that are exposed to this, and that could be a little bit more concerning. Others exposed to the regional sector, kind of a domino effect there. I don't really believe that's the case, but just something else to consider along with this. Moving over to fear and greed, we're down to a 23 from a 29, so we officially hit extreme fear on this metric. Fear on momentum. Strength still has not moved. Breadth continues to crater. We'll take a look at it later. Put call ratio also continuing to elevate there, and then volatility, big spike up today, up into the 25 area. Safe haven demand continues to crater, and then junk bond demand continuing to go higher here, still in extreme fear. Moving over to earnings, green across the board for earnings. Everything continues to look super good, honestly, with earnings so far. For tomorrow, we get American Express. That's really the only big one for tomorrow. And then next week, we start to get into those heavy hitters: Netflix, GE Aerospace, Coca-Cola, Tesla on Wednesday, IBM, and then Amazon on Thursday. Moving over to the charts here on the S&Ps, you can see that fall throughout the session. This was actually a little bit weaker than the NASDAQ here today. Did not go above this previous high from the previous day, the way that the NASDAQ did, but then we fell back down to this trend line here, through wicks to that level into the close, and then after hours drifted below it a little bit. You can see that daily close right at it. Momentum still bearish, RSI still bearish, but we held the structure on a closing basis for the day, waiting to see if this bounces at all tomorrow. A lot of volume throughout the session, and most of the session was selling, so that's not great either. That signals potential continuation from this from yesterday. We'll see if we get the follow through to that 55 EMA tomorrow or not. Moving over to the Tasty charts here on the hourly, you can see we hit that lowest ATR band and then just grinded along that pretty much through the rest of the session. Once we hit it there on the 11 o'clock candle, hit it again 12 o'clock, and then slowly grinding at that level. That's a little bit of a downtrend. Definitely some structure there to the downside, something to watch. 4-hour chart has been bearish conditions on the SPY charts pretty much the whole time here since this big sell here. Came up to that area once and then sold off, continues to come to that area and sell off. Volume on the session, pretty big volume on that selling candle, another consideration there. And then of course the daily chart, still very much bearish conditions. It's been bearish since that big sell candle, but that 34 EMA right in there continues to hold as support at 659. A little bit of volume there again. You can see on the RVol, a little bit of a spike there, but came into that 34, caught that level, and then bounced. We'll see if we can hold that in tomorrow's session. Moving over to the NASDAQ, same kind of thesis really as the SPY charts, except we did go a little bit higher early in the session, so I was looking for a little bit of a play to the upside. Obviously gave all of that back, so that was unfortunate, but held this kind of same low, held these wicks in here, didn't really break structure in my opinion. The momentum is starting to swing back to bullish a little bit. It is down about $1 after hours, not too bad. And then looking at the daily chart, you can see the VWAP did hold on a closing basis, 599.32, just below the 21, kind of in the same consolidation. Momentum is a little bearish there. Volume has been high over the last couple days, but we really haven't seen any clear direction. So Not really looking for anything quite yet. Probably still just consolidation waiting for direction. Moving over to the Tasty charts, same kind of thesis here, middle of the range. It is above that 21 EMA on the daily chart on this chart, which is interesting. Holding that level, didn't quite get down to the 34 the way that it did on the SPY chart. So the NASDAQ held in there a little bit better today. It's good to see. Then on the 4-hour chart, 144 EMA continues to hold as support. On the 4-hour, that is 597.57. Came into that zone, bounced here. Still can't seem to get above that first ATR band on the 4-hour chart. Would like to see that. Still very much bearish conditions here. And then same here on the daily chart. Can't seem to get up there. I was really hoping for a push towards that previous top, get a wick of that area, and then kind of liquidity sweep that high and then get the bigger sell on the push that we had early in the session, but just didn't play out that way. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, I think the Russell was partially affected by that regional banking stuff. You can see it was down 2% here. Pretty big move here. Big gap up yesterday, kind of doji candle, and then look at that sell candle back down to the 244.46 level, took out the trend structure here, momentum back to bearish, RSI back to bearish on volume. Don't love that. Structurally, this is still bullish because you do have the low, higher low with the high, higher high. So you want to see this hold in here. 244 really needs to hold if this is going to hold up structurally. I still think that is a possibility. I have been liking the Russell, but that story today is probably affecting it at least a little bit. And then looking at the Dow, down 0.68, still right on the trend line here. Momentum still bearish, RSI still bearish. Moving over to the Mag 7. Mag 7 was down a little bit, but nothing crazy. Still hanging in there on this 55 EMA. Until this 55 EMA goes on the daily chart, I just don't think we are going to see a big sell. So you have that key support level, 358.76. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft, these were actually pretty uneventful on the day. Apple was down just 0.76, still in the same consolidation that it's been in. Still well above the level there, 244. Again, I think this is kind of the same story as we were watching. On the Mag 7, you got this 55 EMA that's going to continue to catch up here over the next couple days. And then once it catches up, and if we get that break, that's where we're going to see that bigger sell. But for now, this is still bullish structure. And then looking at Microsoft, this is a little bit more ominous because we are below all the short-term EMAs and SMAs. They've already caught up. You can see how this played out, right? So we came down, hit the 55. 55 has consolidated. Right there, it's at 513.58. Right now, current price 511.61. So we're below it. You do have this key support at 506. If this goes, there's probably a lot of room here down to that 144 at 472. Moving over to NVIDIA and Tesla, again, pretty unchanged on the day. And Tesla was down 1.5% in this same consolidation range. 55 EMA all the way down there at 378. So this could take a while to catch up before we see any kind of reversal there. It does look like a top, but could take its time. And then same kind of thesis here on NVIDIA, except it is mostly caught up, right? So had this big rally, 55 catches up here, continues to hang around that level, and now we are testing it, starting to flatten out there. You can see 55 there, 179.37. If we get below that and the 180 level, I think NVIDIA could be due for a pretty substantial pullback, but for now, that has not happened. Moving over to Meta and Alphabet, just wanted to follow up really on both of these. Meta still in the same consolidation. It's not going lower, but it's not going higher. Still looks a little bit bearish down to this 144 area around 680. And then looking at Alphabet, had the bull flag set up and the breakout through a wick to this previous high here. Should be looking for like a retest tomorrow of this trend. If it holds that and then get that bigger breakout, I think there could be some opportunity on Alphabet. Moving over to staples and discretionary. Staples and discretionaries actually ended up selling off here today, down 0.69 and 0.97 on the day. Still think this is structurally bullish here. We just got that initial push. Should get the retest here. Is if this 21 EMA holds in kind of 78.30 area, that's the opportunity buy, and then look for the bigger move there. And then discretionary is a big sell here. Breakdown retest of that level, one at 235.85. Confirmation candle down. Expect this to sell a little bit more in my opinion. Moving over to breadth, you can see that sell here, 33 on the 20-day breadth. Not good at all. 50-day in the same area around 38, 39 here, just below the 40 level. Looking for that next level at 32.30, 32.22 as support. Next level here would be 28.21. It's not at the levels where you would expect it to bounce quite yet. That would be kind of this next area around 26 to 32 in here. And then on 20-day, that zone is around the 16 area. So there's a little bit more room to fall before you would say we're pretty oversold on breadth. Moving over to the dollar, 3 days in a row of dollar selling here. You can see broke all the structures. Don't love it, right? So this is kind of another good example of that 55 EMA, right? So you waited for it to catch up, consolidated for a little bit. Once we broke below it here, then that was kind of the trigger for this to sell over the next 3 days. And so far, it's not starting off to a good start here on the Friday open. Really would like to see it hold this zone here. 55 EMA on the daily chart at 98, 21 EMA also there. Really would like to see this higher low setup here. Look for that higher high structure above the $100 level. That would be super bullish for the dollar, but for now, right now, continues to sell. Moving over to J&K, a little bit of a fake out there on J&K. Rallied up yesterday, pretty aggressive, sold all of that back, filled the gap. Maybe we get the gap fill, hold, and then continuation, certainly a possibility, but structurally doesn't look great. And then TLT, super bullish here, up 0.75, looking for this to go to 92.82, still looking at that thesis. Moving over to the VIX, big spike here on the VIX, up 22%, continues to go. We've been talking about it forever here. We had this structure here, higher low setup in here, got the big spike, thought we might sell here, didn't work out that way, ended up holding this structure. You can see got above the 55, got above the 21, tested those levels, and then a massive spike out. Looking at 28.89 as the next level. Honestly, pretty surprised to see the VIX going so much higher, with markets really not going that much lower today. But next level, 28.89. Next one above there, 33. I'm not really sure that it can get up there on this push, but I would say 28 is probably going to happen. And then we'll see what happens after that. Moving over to my accounts, I didn't do anything with this Russell position. Honestly, I meant to roll it down, but I didn't. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow. Hopefully we get a little bit of a bounce out of it, but 251, it's at about half credit right now. We'll see. I might roll it in and try to get a little bit more credit tomorrow, especially if we start to see some sells tomorrow. I'll take these shares off, watching that 244 level really closely. For the Qs, tried to roll this up on the move. I thought we were going to get a little bit more bullishness out of that. Pretty much unchanged on the after hours. It's at $5.99, down just $1, so that should be in good position. Rolled it out here 6 days for $11 credit. It's at $5 come in on that already. Not too bad on that. TLT, that's in a positive position now with the rally today. And then looking at the dollar, basically unchanged on that one as well. Looking for the dollar to go a little bit higher tomorrow. Hopefully it holds that level. Either way, a little bit mixed trading. But I'm trying to hold these positions a little bit longer, try to let these covered calls come in and stop adjusting them quite so much. Let me know down in the comments section what you think about the regional banks. Is that going to sink the markets? Is that going to spook markets about potential bank failures and potential follow-on effects? Or is that just another blip and markets will end up going higher in the medium term? Let me know. Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.